And we've cut across to these live pictures from Saudi Arabia, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is meeting with the Crown Prince, or rather the Saudi King. You see the pictures on your screens right now from Saudi Arabia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting with the Saudi King. And remember, this is an extremely important visit, as some key pacts will be signed as a part of this visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is in the kingdom at the invitation of Saudi King Salman bin Al Saud, and Prime Minister has also reiterated on how Saudi is extremely important when it comes to our extended neighborhood. He's also stressed upon ties in trade, investment, security and defense that are robust and deep, and he's also spoken about Asian powers like India and Saudi Arabia, who share similar security concerns and look to cooperating with each other when it comes to counter-terrorism progression. And Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor, now joining us on this broadcast, even as we understand, Abhishek, that it is at about 8 p.m. when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be delivering his address. But as we stay with these pictures, take us through the developments that have happened through the day.
Well, Prime Minister has had a busy day, Suesha. It's a very important bilateral visit because in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia is the most important player, and Prime Minister began the day by calling Saudi Arabia a name, and that in effect really marks a shift because calling an extended country the extended neighbor essentially shows what importance Prime Minister attaches, and it's not just about energy security, because India imports about 20% of its oil requirements from Saudi Arabia, but there is a cultural aspect, there is a diaspora aspect, there is a trade aspect, and increasingly there is a strategic aspect. And that is why by the end of this bilateral that is taking place now between him and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, India would have established a strategic partnership council with Saudi Arabia, jointly headed by the two leaders, and having multiple levels with each other at a more strategic level. We have seen how over the last couple of years, Saudi Arabia has helped India in terms of extraditing fugitives or offenders of not just economic offenses, but even crimes related to terrorism. And that in effect shows how even Saudi Arabia is evolving in its own trajectory of development. The keynote address, Suesha, that the Prime Minister would be giving at the financial summit or the investor summit is part of the larger 2030 plan of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to diversify Saudi Arabia's oil economy. And to that extent, Prince Salman has already made an announcement that up to $100 billion of investment is what Saudi Arabia is looking at in India, about half of which is going to go in refineries and then in other strategic sectors. Also, one important decision out of this bilateral summit is going to be partnership with Saudi Arabia to beef up India's strategic petroleum reserves. So what we're seeing is a very important partnership building up with the most important Islamic nation, one would say, with the King of Saudi Arabia being the custodian of the two holy mosques at Makkah and Medina.
Absolutely, Abhishek. And like you pointed out, that Saudi will go on to invest $100 billion in India across various sectors. But even as the Prime Minister has reiterated that this is not just about ties in trade and investment, but equally about security and defense, ties that are robust and deep, and that both the nations share similar security concerns and will cooperate with each other in counter-terrorism when it comes to India fighting terrorism. All right, we seem to have lost that line with Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor. He'll be joining us very shortly. And remember, this is an extremely important visit, as several key agreements will be signed. And Abhishek, I believe, is back with us on the phone line. Abhishek, that exactly as we were talking about, that Saudi is looking to invest over $100 billion across various sectors in India. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi has rightly pointed out, that this is not just about ties in trade and investment, but equally about security and defense that both India and Saudi Arabia are looking at, cooperation between the two, and both India and Saudi Arabia sharing similar security concerns?
Well, yes, Suesha, I think the phone disconnected when I was explaining why the partnership with Saudi Arabia has gained additional importance in the last 2 months, because while modernist or so-called modernist nations like Turkey and Malaysia have openly sided with Pakistan, even taking Kashmir to the United Nations, Saudi Arabia has shown a more nuanced position, better understanding of why India did what it did in Kashmir, and the ties really go back to almost the time of Prophet Muhammad, and even before before him. We have seen how in the first mosque that came up in down south in Kerala came up roughly immediately after the life of Prophet Muhammad. So that's the kind of Islamic connect, and despite that, if Saudi Arabia has done a balancing act between India and Pakistan, really shows the kind of investments that have gone into this relationship, with Prime Minister Modi having been in the highest civilian honor of the Islamic nation sometime in 2016, and then highest level of visits happening, the last being of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in February this year itself. When finality came about the investments of Saudi Aramco, the oil major or the public sector owned oil major in the Ratnagiri refinery, and then of course Prince Salman announcing that they are looking at investments worth about $100 billion in India, and a partnership for India's strategic petroleum reserves, and then the whole diaspora connect with about 2.5 to 3 million Indians working in various capacities in the Islamic kingdom. So essentially what we're seeing is that the partnership is gaining durability, something that began in 2006, went to next level in 2010 when Saudi Arabia declared India a strategic partner, only
right,
nations with whom they have a strategic partnership,
right,
and now the strategic
absolutely, Abhishek. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi's keynote address expected at 8 p.m. in about an hour from now. We will be watching out for what exactly that will comprise. For the moment, Abhishek, thank you, and we move on.